Welcome, Spartans, to Halo TV Plus, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host, Oran, and on Halo TV Plus, my guest and I recap Halo's original television show, Halo the Series, and we discuss its contents and unique canon within the Silver Timeline. Joining me tonight for Season 2, Episode 2, Sword, is Colin. Welcome to the show, Colin.
I'm back.
He's back. Oh, man. How you been, buddy?
Round. I've been good. I've been off Halo a bit, but I've been refreshing myself on the goodness, the good and badness that happened last season. I re-listened to our recording of the last episode from last season.
Yeah, you were with us for Emergence, Transcendence, I think is what it was called.
Yes, we transcended together.
Yes, we did. What a time!
It's been good. I mean, I've been enjoying the new thing so far. So we'll have a good chat.
Yeah, we're 2 episodes in, a double episode premiere, and I think Halo's pretty strong out of the gate. It's keeping me enticed, maybe even a little bit more than Season 1 did. So,
yeah, I felt like I had a couple of moments of like excitement. I was like, "Whoa, what's gonna happen now?"
Yeah,
this is great.
Exactly. Well, if you're a returning listener, then you already know this. But if you're just joining us, welcome to Halo TV Plus. This show and podcast publishes 2 podcast episodes to accompany each Halo the Series episodes. So this is a commentary episode for Sword. In a moment, Colin and I will watch Sword and discuss the events as they unfold on screen. We encourage you to watch along with us. We will sync up our episode by pressing play and all that stuff in a moment. If you haven't watched the episode yet, we recommend that you do watch it before listening to us talk, just because we spoil scenes while they happen, and it will sometimes reference future scenes that haven't happened yet, and we'll be talking kind of over the video if you're kind of listening to it on headphones or TV and what have you, so it just might be hard to follow for your first time viewing. Tomorrow, we will release the analysis episode for Sword that will dive into a little bit more detail and maybe give some predictions for characters and scenes for future episodes, so definitely keep an eye out for that on your podcast feed. Halo TV Plus is part of Evolved that hosts a variety of other Halo shows like Podcast Evolved, HCS Pro Talk, Mission Debrief, and Builds with Blocks. Both of those are Colin-led shows. Mm-hmm. Shout out.
We're on a little hiatus, but
yes. But if you haven't listened to them, there's a huge backlog for both of those series. So definitely go check those out on our feed and on the website. And we also have Halo Book Club. You can learn more about each of those shows on our website, evolvedhalo.com. We also host another show called I Would Have Been Your Podcast, which is a Patreon-exclusive podcast for our patrons. If you're not a patron and you want to learn more, you can head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved. Patrons also receive a variety of other exclusive rewards, such as early episodes, access to our original 18-song soundtrack, unique swag, access to a private Discord channel, and more. So shout out to our current subscribers to our Patreon. Thank you guys so much for keeping us afloat. I have to thank you guys.
You guys are amazing.
Every episode. Yes, amazing. Especially you dedicated long-term fans out there. It's we've been going on 10 years this year coming up for our podcast. It's incredible for sort of.
You guys keep us going.
Yes, very much so. I do have one announcement I wanted to mention because I haven't really mentioned these in previous episodes, but if you're playing Halo Infinite and you want some more armor customization, the Riz helmet, Riz 028 from the show, that helmet and her visor is available for you to earn through Halo Infinite between when this show's published on Monday, February 12th and Tuesday before the reset happens at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So you can acquire Riz's helmet by completing this week's ultimate reward and all the other weekly challenges leading up to that. And the visor color you can just unlock by logging in. They kind of just give you that one. So you can kind of squeeze in and get that before it goes away. And
that's a great tie-in. I really like that. That's smart.
Yes, it's great.
I need to do that.
The week before was Kai. So if you missed that, unfortunately you missed it. And I should have mentioned it back then, but I just was so focused on the show. But Vanek's helmet, it will be in a couple weeks, so we'll give you guys an update when that is live on Halo Infinite. So just keep an eye out for that. So I think we're good to kind of get started. But before we press play, Colin, do you want to give us a little bit of a recap of what happened in last episode's Sanctuary?
I will. So season premiere, back at it. Episode 1, Season 2. I like how we start with Chief on his back, and they explain, right? They jump ahead. And so they kind of explain right away that something happened with Chief and Cortana. So the beginning, so Chief is encountering the Covenant. So like on planet, Chief encounters the Covenant on Sanctuary just before it's glassed. Him and Silver Team save the communications officer Talia Perez and the other citizens during the evacuation. He also has a what's her name? A mother. They call mom. Her mom, the white-haired lady.
Yeah, I think the villagers just call her the mother or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leader there.
Interesting encounter there. Like, do you have family? All that sort of stuff. So he is dealing. A lot of what's unfolding is he's dealing with kind of his internal struggles of the loss of McKee, the loss of Cortana, kind of who is his family, and then loneliness and stuff like that. So good stuff all there. We learned that the Covenant's been hitting the UNSC very hard, glassing multiple planets over the past 6 months. Did you hear Madrigal was in there? I heard Madrigal.
Yes, Madrigal was mentioned, which I find very interesting.
So we think they're searching for keystones, additional keystones. We meet Ackerson, who's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, he's
really
pretty
good
cool.
actor. Really good scenes between him and all of the John and the other actors. He's Halsey's replacement as the director of the Spartan program. He's the Oni bad guy, or is he the bad guy? We'll find out. He doesn't believe Master Chief's account and what's happened on Sanctuary, and you're kind of like, is he manipulating him, or did he really not believe him? So it's interesting drama there. You meet Parangoski. She's been sacked, lost her job, not killed. And she's
Which I find a little interesting. I feel like with someone as a
Mm-hmm.
high profile as Parangoski and knowing Oni, and like I feel like when you get fired from that job, you kind of get fired from life.
Yeah.
So
right.
I find it interesting that she's not dead.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Maybe we'll find out what happened. Then we meet Soren, re-meet Soren, and he's interested in some Halsey hunt. A bounty that a guy, random guy, more or less tricks him into searching for. Quan is hiding on the rubble with the help of Kessler, who is the son, and he's got that sweet Master Chief helmet, that custom Chief helmet. And he keeps talking. She's talking about a monster, and he's talking about a monster, and there's some monster stuff happening in the background. So we will uncover more about that, I'm sure, as the season goes on. So a couple things that we're left with. We don't know where Cortana is. We don't know where Halsey is. We haven't seen Miranda Keyes yet. And McKee, like, what's going on? There's like maybe a glimmer of McKee, and she's still on his mind. So what's going on with that? Lots of questions.
Yes, and we get some of those answers this episode actually, which is kind of nice. So.
And really good action. Like that first action scene was great. So we're
yes,
we're feeling very Halo right now.
Yes, very much so. Do you have the episode queued up and ready to go?
I'm at all zeros right now.
All zeros. All right. Well, I think we should. I'll do the countdown. We'll press play, and then while the episode. Or actually, here's a question: do you have commercials? I meant to ask you this beforehand.
No commercials. I plussed it up.
He has plussed it up. All right. So listeners, if you are a ad subscriber on Paramount Plus, then you will have to pause our episode recording during your commercials because we are going to watch it all the way through uninterrupted by commercials. So just wanted to put that out there before we get started. I'm going to give some synopsis director information from this episode during the what's it called, the recap that's going to begin. So without further ado, I will count us down, and on play, press play. All right, 5,
I'm ready.
4, 3, 2, 1, play. All right, there we go. Tense music. So while the recap is going on, we just gave our own little recap from you, Colin. But this week's episode is Sword. The synopsis is John pushes Silver Team to its limits as he searches for missing Spartans. Kai worries about John's stability. Quan finds the rubble is a far more dangerous place in Soren's absence, and Halsey seeks the identity of her captor. So already in the synopsis, we get a little bit of a glimpse as to what's going on with Halsey in between what happened at the end of season 1. The director is Debs Patterson. She did the first 2 episodes. The runtime for this is a shorter episode than episode 1's 46:01, and it was a double episode premiere, so it premiered on February 8th, 2024 as well. I think it was a pretty strong first episode, and this episode I think just kind of continues to build on it. It doesn't have all the action that we got in episode 1, but I think it gives us enough action, like you sort of alluded to, that we'll be seeing very, very soon.
We're doing a little more story stuff now versus there is some good action in the middle though, so we'll enjoy that. And
some good character building.
But yeah, some good character building. They've talked about kind of resetting and stuff like that, so I feel like this new direction is strong.
Very much so. So off the bat, we get here Halsey. She is in some sort of room, and this young woman, Julia, enters, and since we know kind of what happens through this episode, Halsey is being held somewhere that she doesn't really know where, which kind of begs off my first question is like, well, what happened to her between seasons rather? But I like
last we saw her where she was like writing in her journal on some, I don't know, dock or something like that.
Yeah, she was at like a spaceport because presumably she was leaving Reach because she was on the run. And so whether she was intercepted before she even got on that transport or she got away and then got captured, kind of like how Soren did at the end of last episode and then was brought back to Reach. But she is in this hologram prison right now. And we get the sense that she's starting to catch on that she's been here for a while. She's talking to Julia about backgammon and where the hallway is and who the secret man is and stuff. So I get the sense that she's been here a while and she knows that she's been here a while, as opposed to maybe some other types of like captive hologram sci-fi scenes that have happened in other mediums where like the individual doesn't know that they're being duped. But like Halsey definitely is getting that kind of frustration. How quickly did you kind of catch on to that? Did you kind of get that from this first scene, or did it take you maybe to the second or third one when they cut back to it?
I got something was off here. When I watched it the second time, it was more apparent that this has been a loop, right? This is like some Groundhog Day thing happening because she sets down the backgammon case, and then you realize, oh wait, there's another one right there.
Yeah,
right next
she
to
already
it.
has
some little hints like that. And then I'm curious too, is how long, like, is there something that from this conversation that triggers what's happening right now with this clone, or does this scenario always end in her dying no matter what?
Oh, do you think that maybe Halsey prying is what prompts the clone to start bleeding?
Yes, that's what I'm wondering.
Interesting.
Like maybe somebody's behind the scenes hitting the kill
switch
clone's button. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't consider that. That's a really good observation. I always interpreted it as just there's a time limit of when the clone's going to expire, and Halsey has to kind of get in the questions that she wants to get in, but she probably knows the mind is very fragile, and so doesn't want to just completely overload it off the bat and kind of has to gain a little bit of trust. I mean, they play like a whole backgammon game in another scene that, I mean, we don't really see it, but it's alluded to because Halsey wins. So I kind of just thought it was like a give and a take that Halsey was kind of playing with to kind of just see how much information she can get from this clone.
Right.
So we'll cut back to her a few more times so we can continue that conversation. I like that the very next scene we get is Kai and Riz here because Riz has been battling her injuries, and I don't think I mentioned it on this last episode, but I did notice when she like jumps off the cliff right in the beginning of that first episode, she does have like a stagger, and so they from the get-go they've been showing Riz's internal battle with her injuries.
I feel like watching these episodes again and again. I mean, not that at least two or three more times, you're gonna pick up on a lot of those little details that you didn't pick up on the first time. They've done a really good job with that.
Yeah. So I like that kind of throughout this episode, they really deal with Riz's injuries and physical therapy that she has to go through, and also it touches a little bit into the emotional side of it. And I think in both of these first two episodes, we're really getting more of like inside the Spartans' head and what they have to deal with on a daily basis, and kind of soldier PTSD and the mental state and strain that these Spartans and other warriors kind of go through. And I really like those struggles to kind of keep the characters going as they do the cool action stuff on top of all that. So I really like the characterization for all the Spartans I think it's really strong out of the gate here.
Yeah, especially now that they've made it clear they all have the pellets out, so they're all kind of feeling the emotions, all that stuff. And I love Kai so much. Like, she's so good. I love this actress, like, for the role. Like, she's perfect.
Yeah.
She just nails her stuff.
Yeah, she's a very strong character and actor as well. Even in last season, she was doing a really great job with what she was doing on scene.
She had the most to work with outside of John from the Spartan standpoint.
This board also, I've paused this board, like on the board on this episode and the last one, so many times to just look at the different teams and count the different Spartans. And it's weird because like you can see this board more closely in these shots on this episode, but you don't see a lot of the names, but you're able to see more of the names on the other ones. And it's kind of cool, just a little Easter egg of like knowing the core canon of what's there and what they might have changed, and like, oh, the Omega team is the same names from Omega team and core canon. So like it's a nice little Easter egg there. That
did you comment on the new intro music?
We did, yes. Ian and I discussed that. I mean, what is your opinion? Like, I mean, mostly positive, but like, how did you take this new title sequence?
The other music, when I went back and watched one of the episodes, just to remind myself of what this intro was, because when I was watching it, I was like, wait a minute, this is a little different. The other intro music grew on me, but I'm glad they're coming back to the classic. Like, they should have led with this to begin with. Like, it makes complete sense. This is the Halo theme. There's a little twist on it, but you can still tell, this is Marty's music, right? That's made it so famous.
Yeah. It's a slight interpretation, and yeah, I agree. It just gives me a smile just listening to that music, and like getting myself, all the warm tingling sensation of just like loving this franchise. And when they do nods like that, and other things, like I keep going back to like the birth of Cortana in season 1 is one of my favorite moments in the whole series, or of the whole season, just because it's so iconic in core canon, and hearing Jen Taylor's voice is just always brings a smile to my face. So
I want to talk about it when we see her again. We do see her later in the episode. Like, she looks different.
Yeah. I want to talk about Cortana. We get just a glimpse of her at the end there, which
and we can dig into that.
We can dig into that. But to talk about the rubble, I think the rubble set, especially when they do the chase scene in just a moment, I was pretty blown away about it. This is a massive set that I would assume is in like a warehouse, and like, I just want to give major props to the set designers and the art directors and the construction people and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think they did a really cool job of like giving the rubble its own like character and organic sort of feeling, and really fill that space to make it its own environment. So, and especially like the way the chase scene is like filmed, it's like super low angles. Like when you watch it, it's like really from Kwan's perspective, because she's shorter person, and like she's, I guess, still a kid right now. And so I don't know, I think they just really played with the space very well, and made, to my surprise, me being intrigued with Kwan and what is going on with her. Like I was like, I like made a note of that while watching it. I was like, oh wow, I'm actually invested in Kwan. This might be the first time since episode 1 of season 1. So I think it's like I said, a good strong opening.
Yeah, I think it's still a little bit like, well, why are they following her? But it's also like, well, why are they following her?
Yeah.
It is intriguing that they continue to carry her forward, and something's gonna happen. I'm
But
sure that'll unfold.
between Quan and Halsey, I think they are the two characters I'm most interested in learning what happened between seasons.
That was a badass, by the way. That was
Oh yeah, the
nice.
bottle. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good. But like these guys are like parkouring around the environment,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and like, look at this. We like slide underneath a thing in a second. Like, I don't know. I just think the stunt choreography and the way that they use the space was just handled and done very well to make it a pretty exciting chase sequence.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
and like I said, I was surprised to be like rooting for Quan for once.
I'm sure some viewers are like, get her.
Yeah, right. Yeah, get her, get rid of her. Maybe so. But yeah, like I am very intrigued to know what happened between now and when we last saw her in season 1. Same thing with Halsey, and I'm sure we'll get that down the line. But that's kind of my
There's enough time to have
things.
passed that some things will be revealed. I was like, what? That 6 months in between.
Yeah,
So we're still early. Episode 2.
Yes, we still got 6 more episodes, and I'm sure we're gonna learn something. Figure out who that monster is. Like, do you have any predictions on what that monster is that Quan's referring to?
I have some thoughts, but yeah, let's talk about that during the analysis episode. 'Cause I have some thoughts.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
curious
that's
what
actually true.
you're
That'll
thinking.
be a good analysis sort of thing. So stay tuned.
Are they shooting this garbage into like a sun, or is it just?
So I
floating
was a
around
little
space?
confused about that too, because I would think that if you're cubing it up like that, you would cube it up to like stack it, I guess, or
Right.
use it as something. But like, there's some sort of release valve into space because you see it there floating, and then you see the guy floating there, Clive, and it's like, I guess they just cube it up and shoot it into space, and it just drifts into space, just space garbage.
Yeah.
Cause and his arm's off somehow. I was like, that's kind of
Somehow
weird.
his arm got crunched off.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So, yeah, Quan's I guess like a mini assassin now. Like she was throwing bottles at people. She ejected a guy into space. She's about to stab a guy.
She's
Like
been training.
she's been doing something.
She hung out with Chief a bit last season, right? Like they were pals.
No, I wouldn't say they were pals. She was basically being escorted back to Reach under Chief's
Is that the last time they were together during that?
Well, then Chief leaves at the end of episode 1 and goes to the rubble and finds Soren because of the artifact.
That's right. And he
But
drops
then
her off.
but then he leaves her there, and then that's the
Yeah.
last time they interact. And so she more so becomes buddy
But wait,
with
hold on.
Soren.
This is Aaron's favorite character. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah,
The Blind Spartan.
The
It's
Blind
gonna be
Spartan.
Aaron's favorite character.
Oh
Yep.
man, I can't wait to ask him. Lewis, I love this guy. He's great.
So good.
I knew he was a Spartan pretty quickly. Just the way they were talking, I was like, oh, this guy is a washout. And then
Yep.
we kind of get that in a little bit. And I just think the overall characterization and just like seeing multiple Spartans in this world, I think has been done very well these first 2 episodes. We met Cobalt Team. We see some Spartans in like the background, just like of their barracks. We get Lewis here. Like they're really fleshing out the program, which I really like. I think that was a good decision on them, and just to get more perspective instead of just the machine like kill bot that sometimes that these Spartans are characterized as.
Are Cobalt Team the Spartan 2s, do we think?
Yes, they're still Spartan 2s.
Okay. And is that like Cobalt kind of a play on Black Team, maybe?
I don't know, because Black Team might be its own team. I'd have to look at the board again or my notes, but like there's a green team, there's gold, there's Omega, Sigma, and there might be a black team, but I mean Cobalt could really just be any sort of team. On episode 1,
I'm just thinking like a callback to, like, my thought is like kick a Cobalt Black Team got murdered by, the Didact, all that sort of stuff. But
yeah,
I don't think
there
they're
could
gonna
be a
alive
parallel
whenever
there.
We find them again. Yeah.
We were making parallels to Fire Team Crimson from Halo 4, those Spartan 4s. But with the first episode, just because of like the Spartan banter between them and Silver Team from episode 1 in the locker room. And
Yep.
you've kind of gotten that with other fire teams. Like I think Gray and Red Team got into a little hissy fit in a barracks one time, and I think someone lost an eye or something.
It felt like kind of ODSTs too, because they really haven't introduced that, like ODSTs and Spartans.
Yeah.
You know, having a piss in a match.
So, but yeah,
I love his comment about "Do you eat?" He's like,
"Oh yeah, yeah." That was it. This is an interesting scene. Like I don't really know how I feel about it yet because I don't really like the Ackerson just gaslighting Chief. Like I kind of wish he was a little bit more manipulative somehow. Of like, I don't know how to describe it. Well, I like how
it's a little too aggressive. You think?
Yeah, I like how the actor is taking the role, but I just feel like the way his direction is written and what he's like actually doing just doesn't quite line up to the character that Joseph Morgan is creating. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there for me, but yeah, whenever he's on screen, I'm just always intrigued to kind of just see how he's gonna take these scenes. And
yeah, he's a great asshole.
Yeah, he is a great asshole. We love to love great assholes. And then the also, I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but like this continues to show that like there's no acknowledgement of like helmet cam, which is I think a plot hole that was overlooked. Like I feel like all Ackerson needed to say was like, we checked your vid feed and it happened to not be there. Like it's mysteriously
there are no
gone.
comms. That's what you're saying. So maybe somehow that interference. Yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I could see that, but like it's just because it's not mentioned, it just kind of irks me a little bit. And I think that's one of the kind of community takes as well, as doing some Reddit reading with a grain of salt.
Well, I wonder too if they are actually going to tie the Spartan 3s to Ackerson, and maybe he in the back of his mind is like, I got this awesome force, so I'm going to do what I can to take away authority and make people doubt the Spartan 2s, and my Spartan 3s are the ones when they're going to come save the day. Maybe that's why he's ragging on Chief.
I do believe I think you're on point with that, because the last line of that scene before it cut to the back to the rubble is, he says, at the end of the day, you're just some guy in a suit. And I think
that was harsh, by the way. Chief should have fucking
it's just like just punched him right in the jaw. Yeah. I think that is foreshadowing his Spartan 3s on how he's basically trying to clone or breed Spartan 3s that are just some guys and some gals in a suit, and getting rid of the character and the emotion. That's kind of where I think it's going.
I like this captain too, like his this actor here.
Yeah,
he does way better of an acting job than this role needs. Like I really like him.
Yeah, I hope we see more of him. That was one of my critiques of season 1, is that Soren was this big space pirate, but we didn't really get to see him do space piratey things. He just kind of babysat Quan and then shot some people and fought some people. But like I liked how in episode 1 we went on a quote unquote mission with him that went badly, and like we're getting a little bit of a perspective of his crew, and he's like, but they obviously don't really care. Like maybe they were paid off or threatened or something, but they obviously don't have any sort of urgency to go try to save Soren. But I like how we get to see more of that, because I feel like that's the element of Soren that was kind of missing from season 1, that we didn't really get to know him and what he does beyond the face value of, oh, he's a space pirate with a space crew.
Yeah. Well, they set up that other families are poking at his authority. And
yeah.
At the end of the day, they're pirates, so I'm sure they were bought out by the people that captured him. So
yeah, maybe so, or yeah, maybe other of the other families or legions of pirates sold out Soren to whatever authority Felix was representing, and that's kind of how he got eliminated from the picture. So now the other families can start rising a little bit, since Soren's no longer a threat to them.
So she's hiding somewhere on Soren's rock, because Kessler gets to her fairly easily.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked a little bit about this before the show, and she has to be on their asteroid, because otherwise Kessler would have to leave through the tram every time he needed to go talk to Quan. But then also begs the question, every time Quan has to come back home, she has to come back on the tram and she has to avoid Liara and not be, or even back when Soren was there, like she has to kind of navigate that. So, and Kessler brought her food. So yeah, it's a little muddy there.
There's a hidey hole he gets access to.
Yeah.
Did they do the close up on the eyes in the first season? I didn't watch the full first season.
Yes,
I really like this.
There was more in like I think in helmet cam in season 1. I think this is like the first time we get it in season 2, because I was a little surprised we didn't see it during the fight in Sanctuary, but maybe that was just because they didn't want to show Chief's face until the end of the engagement. But yeah, we cut inside the helmet quite a few times in season 1, and I like that angle to be used sparingly, and so I think it was.
Well, I like it showing the emotion, and this is for her, right? You can tell she's in pain, and
exactly.
And they don't need like the overlay of the HUD or anything. It's just her face to show the emotion that she's going through.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a good choice, and yeah.
And this scene really shows how amazing they are, right? Like what they can do. Like she just jumped on the side of that cliff. So I think that a little of that is happening here too for the audience that's not familiar, or trying to remind them like how amazing Spartans actually are.
Yeah.
By showing this training.
And yeah, how versatile they could be, and kind of helps set up for whatever crazy stunt that they're going to be doing later in the show. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. Otherwise, if they do some crazy stuff later on, they didn't show this, then people are like, well, wait a minute, how can they do that?
Yeah. And I think, remind me if you may know, but in core canon, I think when they do these types of training exercises and stuff, they use stun rounds. Like, I don't really know if they are, that they didn't really mention any of that, but
these look like live rounds.
I mean, they obviously aren't going to shoot each other, and they have shields, so like, even if they do shoot them, like their armor would glow. But
yeah, and they didn't show that though. That's a good point. Like none of these shots hit. They're always right next to them.
Yeah.
And what game are they playing, by the way? She just needs to grab that little.
So this is a play on the ring the bell exercise that, or at least what I'm assuming from core canon, where there would be a bell at the top of a hill, and you would have to race up there and ring the bell first. And so I think, yeah, that's a hard hit. Yeah.
And she's out. Look at her.
She's out for a good couple of seconds there. But yeah, that's what I think they're kind of doing, is that you have to get to the bell or that beacon without being detected and without being shot upon, really. And you saw that Chief there had a shot but held, because he wants hers to succeed, because he knows what is coming up, and that's why I think he's pushing her so hard. He obviously sees that she's in pain, but doesn't want her to give up.
I think he also needs to know what she's capable of. Like, she's part of the team, so push her to where she can't go anymore, so he knows how far she can go.
Yeah.
Given her current state.
That's a good point as well.
Do they show how jacked John is in this episode? Because they showed that a couple times in the first episode, which was like, yeah. Way to go, Pablo.
I mean, there's a moment later when he goes to Perez's house that like Perez's mom is like, "You're big," and he's like, "Yes, ma'am." But I don't think we get his shirt off in this episode. But I mean, Pablo's jacked.
You can tell
like,
how much more impressive
shredded.
he is than the other Spartans. Well, I guess Vanek's. I mean, some of that's just the male physique, but like he's, yeah.
I mean, Kathleen Kennedy Kai, she looks like a beast too. I think Riz is a little bit. I think she's the smallest of the four,
but probably on purpose too. Right?
Yeah,
like because she's worn out, beaten. See here again. So like once she starts asking about those same line of questions, then her nose starts to bleed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I believe it, but that is a good.
Because otherwise she wouldn't know. Like she's asking her questions about like, where do you go? What happens after this?
I mean,
you would think that Clone has some like maybe this is like the third or fourth day, and then she's like, okay, now I'm going to ask her.
Yeah, but I know she does. She's definitely quick, because she knows it's going to happen soon once the nose starts bleeding. But yeah, maybe it's just a kill switch. And then Halsey even out there calls it out and says, "What's the point of all this? Like, what are you doing, puppet master?" So, yeah, I don't know. the reason I think we can get into this more in the analysis episode, but yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Flash clone there, on kind of maybe
Yeah.
what are the implications of using the Flash clone, and that it periodically has that nosebleed. Because there's some interesting things there. But now we're here with Riz and Lewis. Lewis is taking her to some sort of physical trainer or meta what's the word, like therapist.
Some doctor, some therapist.
Yeah, some type of physical therapist or meditation expert, and he says that it helped him get over and work through his blindness, and Riz seems to be reacting positively to it when it actually occurs. I was a little kind of tilting my head because I wasn't fully clear what this guy was doing to her, but I'm liking the journey she's
like
going through.
Like a therapist, right? Like not only a physical therapist, but also like how to deal with your body breaking down or not being able to do what you used to be able to do. It's a good angle.
Yeah. And this story is good when he talks about him being, him losing his blindness, and then, but still appreciating and seeing how incredible and beautiful the Spartans are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of his last memory of sight, which is I think
he does such a good job.
very poetic.
Actor, like I believe he's blind. Like he nailed it.
I don't know who he is. He does kind of look familiar. Like I feel like I might have seen him in other things, but I'd have to look up who he is.
Here's more manipulation.
Yeah, and this is raising my eyebrow on what are the implications here.
Well, we're setting her up as potential Kurt, right? I've heard you guys talk about that quite a bit.
That is a going theory, and the more we're watching, the more I can see it. So it's I think that was it Aaron who suggested that? I think it was. And yeah, I can definitely see this being the beginning of a relationship between Ackerson and Kai, or at least Ackerson manipulating Kai and kind of gaining her trust to then, maybe backstab Chief, and, who knows how it kind of goes down. But remember, Kurt was effectively abducted against his will, and then not necessarily forced, but just kind of highly encouraged to just train the Spartan 3s, and he was kind of like, well, since I can't really do anything else, I guess I'll train the Spartan 3s. So it kind of just worked out that way.
This is good because she lies to him. She obviously does, but it's important for her to also see someone else realize that, hey, something may be up with John, right? So he's playing this angle really hard, really well. Because she's eventually going to trust him, right? She's like, oh yeah, he is a little fucked up. Something's going to happen.
Yeah. So I'm happy that we do see more of Perez now, because I was just kind of waiting to learn more about her. And I don't know if I got what I really wanted to out of this sequence, but at least it's something, I guess.
I love his reaction there. Yes, man.
Yes, man. Yeah. No, I think this is even though Chief's not in his armor right now, he's still he's very short in his responses. He gets to the point. He listens at the dinner table and I don't even think he speaks at all. And I think it's like, yeah, that's Chief just outside of his armor. Like it's pretty great.
Yeah, I noticed Pablo doing his monotone really well and kind of sticking to that, especially in those situations where it's less up and down, like arguing with his teammates or Ackerson, where you need a little inflection. But here it's just like monotone, man.
So yeah, here's the this moment that she's starting to feel something that he kind of just unlocks for her. So I wasn't
Is there
really.
a spiritual thing happening, or is
Yeah,
it
I
just
think it is.
traditional therapy?
I mean, maybe he's doing like a pressure point or something, so she's able to feel something that she wasn't able to feel before. But I think there is an element of spirituality that he is channeling kind of in her, and she's really getting her mind opened up right now. And this might be the last we see of her, I think. But
For the episode.
yeah, but I'm interested to see kind of where it goes and how she continues dealing with it. Because I think it'd be interesting if she eventually succumbs so much and she gets a robotic arm like Kat. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
And that's like how she's able to finally deal with it or something. She has to like let go of her arm.
So is that PTSD happening, or is she trying to communicate?
My initial thought was Morse code.
Mm-hmm.
But the second time I watched the episode and then just now, I think it might be a little bit more PTSD because of the flash that happens and the conversation that happens after this. So I think I was reading maybe a little more into it with thinking it was Morse code.
Yeah.
But I tried to...
That was my initial thought.
I tried to Google on like Reddit and stuff to see if anyone was able to decipher it, but I didn't really see any threads, so I don't know if it is anything. And this, oh my gosh, I laughed out loud when this guy said this. What's your KDR? And I'm like, are you kidding? And it would be, and then he said Spartan attack, and I almost wish he said Spartan assault.
Oh yeah.
Because that just would have been hilarious. That would have been such a funny little Easter egg.
I didn't pick up on that until I have the what do they call closed caption on. So I didn't pick up on that, the Spartan attack game.
Yeah. Yeah, I have it on. I have the closed captioning on.
He knew that he was a Spartan, and he asked him his KDR.
No, I guess.
Well, it's. I haven't lost yet, so.
I think Spartan Attack is probably a game that like Marines play to feel like a Spartan, maybe.
Oh, sure.
Or
okay.
maybe it's just like their version of Halo.
Yeah.
You know,
in Universe Halo.
In Universe Halo, and so he could just be asking. You know, and then they piece it together that, oh yeah, he's actually a Spartan. So, but yeah, this scene, like I mentioned, like I wanted this scene, but I don't know if I really liked what I got. I don't know, it just still feels a little cryptic where, like, you know, Chief, obviously, he wants to know why she lied and try to find out more information because he knows this is going to happen again. And it's like, it literally is happening in the background right now. So he kind of beats around the bush with it. And what Perez tells him is still kind of not direct. And maybe she just doesn't know because she's still in shock and all that. But it's a nice scene, but I guess I still want more to it because I didn't feel satisfied at the end of it.
Well, he came to her for answers, like more or less like, why the fuck did you lie? And I think she provides that answer, but he doesn't get like what actually happened. How could you tell that the covenant was there? Like, because that's what he's trying to also figure out, right?
I mean, she probably, maybe she didn't see the elites, but she must have. I mean, she shot at some of them, and she probably saw blurs. But
no, she definitely saw them. But she lied. She chose to lie. And she's saying that here, like why she chose to lie.
Yeah.
But I think Ackerson probably also encouraged her to lie, or maybe she told him the truth, and he said, "No, this is what you saw. You didn't see anything." You know, or maybe some.
Yeah, she could. Yeah, she could be leaving that part out. Because that's honestly what I thought, because of the whole propaganda broadcast that happened in the first episode. Mm-hmm. I think Ackerson or maybe even Keyes kind of coached her what to say and what the ceremony was going to be about, you know, for the propaganda.
But we haven't seen the last of her. She's gonna stick around.
Yeah, we need to see something impactful happen with her. She needs to be involved with the fall of Reach, I think, and kind of just be a little bit better. Now, I like this.
This is an aha moment. Wait a minute.
Yeah, this is.
He's there.
I literally did a double take because I was like, wait, is that him? Like, how is what? And then I love Halsey's line where she was like, she was mentioning a nice man, but yet here you are. And I'm just like, oh, that's so great. But yeah, this was a very telling scene to kind of really bring it home.
So she's like on a holodeck of some sort.
Yeah, she's in some type of holodeck,
but on Reach.
Yeah, in FleetCom,
yeah,
Ackerson walks down the hall, and that's where the artifact is. Right. So it's very interesting. A lot of questions, and but this is a good sort of interaction. This is, again, I think Natasha does a great Halsey interpretation, and to kind of see her working and the way she internally thinks and talks out loud, like the subtext and everything, I think is just really great. But then she gets all physical and is like, where's Cortana? Where's John?
Yeah, she's saying Cortana would be the only person to know that.
Yeah, because Cortana is a duplication of her. And that's also how, like, in the very opening scene when she has her tea, like she does now, she's like, this is the tea you like, and these are the crumpets or whatever. And she's like, yes, those are my favorite. It's like, well, yeah, we know those are your favorite because, the room she's probably in is probably some meaningful location to her past that Cortana told.
This is messed up, by the way.
Oh, I thought that was great. They
start the tree on fire.
It's like how poetic.
Peace out. Deal with that.
Yeah. Oh, you just told me the story? Okay, I'll just light your tree on fire.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the technology? Maybe this is, again, an analysis episode, but like, I feel like the big board that they have, and like it's not digital. It's like they're placing slats on there. I feel like it's the future, but they're not leaning too heavily on the future. Like, things are just kind of possible, like that scene we just saw. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Because, like, even what Chief's about to do in the next scene is he's going to try to track the flight plan of Cobalt Team, and that's all done on a digital interface. And yeah, it's interesting because there's definitely a mixture of, I guess, practical and digital integrations and like how to kind of use technology. I mean, I didn't really think about it. I just kind of accepted it. So I guess, yeah, she's just like, wait, can I do it? And he's like, you're not a blessed one.
Here, this is the one that got me.
I was like, yay, we have Cortana. And I was like, oh, she's different. And like, I think I was just
the same one that he saw, right? It's the same one he saw in that when he went to that little parlor.
No, that was a different. No, I think that woman just changed her hair and her like skin tone, or illumination tone to fit what Cortana. I don't think it's the same face. I think it's a different actress.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, so what do you think the probability is? Him dying?
Invasion of Reach.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the invasion.
He's more or less saying, like, what can I do to stop that? She's like, nothing.
Nothing.
It's gonna happen. So the Covenant is coming, and they're gonna take Reach, and you can't do anything about that, Axon. So just go eat an apple somewhere.
Just go eat an apple. Well, now this is where he gets his Spartan 3s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like this too. He says, I'll try to visit again, and she's like, you won't. And he's like, yeah, that's just what people say. That's a very human thing. You wouldn't understand. Exactly. I kind of liked that moment. It's just something people say.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to see more Cortana, of course. I think
this is still a fairly nascent Cortana, right? Because she was just born in the last season. So she's not like grizzled Cortana like we're used to.
No, yeah, she's still like within a year. Yeah, I don't know how long season 1 took place, but like assuming season 1 is like at least a month, she's 7 months old.
Right. So still super smart, but she hasn't figured out all the nuances and whatnot
Yeah.
of humanity yet.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I think I like literally perked up out of my seat. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
lots of aha moments.
what's
Like, wait a
going to
minute,
happen?
okay.
And then he even says
Comms
it.
relay on planet.
It's like, Visigrad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the next episode. Like, I mean, really, I kind of like that it's a shorter season just by looking at the episode titles, because it's just like, oh man, like there's so much stuff that they could do and everything that's going on. I'm in it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we're gonna pack a lot of goodness in. This is feeling very much like Reach, the video game, right?
Yeah, just then like on the way to go check out the relay. Yeah, the first mission.
Well, it's
Winter
it's like the
Contingency.
Covenant's here. They're a threat on planet. And
Well,
we
he even
just were on a
says the
different planet
line.
that they glassed.
Like he says the Covenant are on Reach, which I think is what Carter says at the end of the first mission,
Right.
if I remember correctly.
And so you're realizing, like, uh-oh.
I mean, yeah, the next two episodes are just gonna be nuts. And then here we finally get sword base. So like also during the scene just before this, I was like thinking to myself, I was like, why is it called sword base or sword? Because we haven't been to sword base. And then literally it cuts to this, and I was like, oh, okay, great. Now we're at sword base. So like, what's going on? And it wasn't until McKee said door, and the elite blows open the door, I got my aha moment, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
the Keystone is there.
But we still don't know if it's her. Like, it could be
Yeah,
clone
that's
or a simulated. Like, it could be an AI. Like, it could be something else.
Can the Covenant do the Covenant have cloning capabilities?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, she was shot in the heart when I reviewed the last episode, so.
Yeah,
and
Kai even said it earlier in the episode. She was like, I killed McKee. I shot her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chief's like, I know. I know.
I love how he sends his guys down there without any lights. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
now you guys die.
All right, now
Now
second
you guys go
squad.
die.
Yeah. I'm going to stay here because I'm going to shit my pants.
Why don't they have any headlamps on? They have them on their helmets. You can see them.
Oh, that was so good.
Sliced and diced.
Do we think this is an Arbiter?
Could be.
Because I can't really tell too closely with the armor, but he does have one of those that like accent pauldron, and his armor does look a little bit more silver as opposed to blue. But the elites that were in episode 1 also just kind of looked similar, I think. So I don't really know, but I wouldn't be surprised if this particular elite with McKee is.
But she's like ordering them around, so
yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it's fair to assume that this could be the elite that was the quote unquote leader from Sanctuary.
The leader, yep.
So
I agree with that.
You know, I mean, we'll see what happens in future episodes, but that could be what is being set up.
And this is what do they call this thing again?
So I think this is considered the Keystone, and maybe the smaller one is the artifact, or maybe it's the other way around, or maybe McKee just referred to both of them as the Keystone. I mean, I guess the smaller one would make more sense, as it would be the key to go in the keyhole to be the Keystone. Right. So maybe the big one's the artifact and the small one's the Keystone. But
that's when I reviewed the last episode 9 from last season. I forgot that was a thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah. Now, what I'm curious about, just while the credits are rolling, is why it was lit up. Because usually it doesn't light up until it's being touched, but it was lit up before McKee. Like while McKee was approaching it, and then even when she put her hand up, like I didn't think she touched it. I think she was kind of hovering about to touch it, and then that's when the episode ended.
But didn't last season she kind of figured out how to control that a little bit better? That reaction? I'm remembering.
But I thought
correctly,
she
maybe.
had to still touch it.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
it like to engage.
yeah. So, but
Awesome.
yeah, lots to digest. Yeah, I think it's a good episode. I think both the double premiere was more or less a success. You know, a thumbs up, so to speak, a positive reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pair are stronger than the season one first two episodes when you pair them together.
Yep.
So lots to talk about. Well, let's go ahead and start winding down. And listeners, don't forget we have our analysis episode that will come out very, very shortly, and that will kind of dive into, I think, a little bit more with McKee, a little bit more about Halsey and Ackerson, what we think's going on over there. We still have not gotten anything with Miranda Keyes. She is nowhere
Right.
to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
and Captain or Admiral Keyes was not in this episode. He only made a brief appearance in the first one. So definitely some changes
Is he an
going on.
admiral now, or is he still just
He
captain?
is so he is an admiral. So we noticed that in the first episode, and I was even reading the blog posts on Halo Waypoint, and they do
Mm-hmm.
mention recently promoted Admiral Keyes,
Okay.
which is interesting.
I guess that shows why he would have as much authority as he does versus just a captain. So maybe
Yes.
that makes sense.
But what I also find interesting is that Ackerson is quote unquote the boss
Mm-hmm.
in Keyes' words, and Cortana actually referred to Ackerson as Colonel Ackerson, which I didn't pick up on until the second time I watched it with the subtitles on. And I'm pretty sure an admiral is higher than a colonel. So
I'm not good with that sort of stuff. I'm sure some military folk are listening, like yelling at us right now. But
yeah, I
I
could.
would imagine that has something to do with like just Oni being placed into that situation versus like a different branch of the military.
I
So
mean,
maybe
maybe
that's how it
so.
works.
A colonel rank is before general, and a captain rank is before admiral. Oh, these are different branches.
Yeah, different branches.
So I
There you go.
guess, but still, a general and an admiral are more or less the same, whereas a captain and a colonel are more or less the same in the different forces,
But different branch.
but
So
different branches.
yeah.
But I mean, you can have, but I mean, I don't want to get into the nuances too much, but Keyes is in the Navy, and maybe Ackerson is in the Army, for instance.
Sure. Something
Whatever.
like that.
So, all right. Well, let me find my script here. Oh, actually, closing questions. I forgot about that. Colin, what did you think about the 2-episode premiere? Did you watch the 2 episodes pretty much back to back?
Close-ish. I kind of I mean, within one day, I didn't watch them straight back to back.
Okay. Do
But I
you
feel
do
like
you
I got the
think
sense.
do you think it was a good experience releasing both of these episodes the same week, the same day, or do you think it really wouldn't have mattered if we got one of the episodes a week later?
I mean, I think so because the second episode is so story heavy, and you got lots more action in the first episode. So pairing them together did make sense. To me, again, like watching this one separately from the first episode, it is a little bit more. It's just more low key, I guess. Um, so yeah, mashing them together, I feel like overall told a really good holistic. It almost it's almost like a movie, right? Like a little Halo movie over the first 2 episodes. So yeah, I felt good about mashing them together versus releasing them separately.
Okay. And in terms of the season so far, how would you say it compares to season 1 so far? Like the first 2 episodes of season 1 compared to these first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think they've stepped it up from a production standpoint. I watched a little bit of season 1, and the CG is fine, but it's like you can tell it's stepped up here. Like the scale of everything feels a lot larger and grander and more detailed. So production wise, I'm liking this above episode or season 1 so far. And then I feel like the kind of the little bit of the course correction You can see that happening in these first 2 episodes. And I think I was listening to you and Tom and Aaron talk about the recap of season 1. This feels more Halo, especially at this stage of the game, than the other one. The other one felt a little bit more generic sci-fi, superhero thing, whereas this is really feeling more of what the Halo we know and love.
Yeah, and I think that's
it's
a
a
very
fine line. Like, it's a fine line,
yes,
but it feels more like it's on the other side of the line.
I think you're right. Yeah, I didn't quite think about it through that lens, but now that you mention it, I think I 100% agree. And part of me thinks it's because a lot of what season 1 is all about is finding out who John is and how we separate him from the Master Chief, and what does it mean to be a Blessed One reclaimer type of an individual. Whereas the season 2 is basically the fall of Reach, and it's just the show's interpretation with the characters and tweaking events to show us the fall of Reach. And so yes, they're changing things to fit the Silver timeline, but because it's grounded in this monumental event and core canon, I think that's why it's leaning on the other side of that line. And I think that's one of the main reasons why it's working so much better on some of those levels. It still has some iffy things in there that we can maybe iron out later in the season, but kind of generally speaking, broad strokes, it's navigating that line in a much more faithful manner, and it's getting a lot of positive reactions because of it.
Yeah, and I think this was my commentary on when we talked last season, is season 1 felt like an origin story. And we have that origin story as our base now, so we can build off of that. And so they can lean more into the Halo-ness of what's going on screen in season 2, versus kind of having to lay all the groundwork. Okay, this is the universe, the Blessed Ones, and all this sort of stuff. Now we've got all that behind us, right? So now we can really dig in.
I agree. Well, all right. I think we'll do it there. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Halo TV Plus. Thank you, Colin, for joining me this week in a return to Halo TV Plus.
Absolutely, it's been fun.
Halo the series premieres exclusively on Paramount Plus every Thursday, I believe every morning at midnight Pacific time, but we'll see what happens this coming Thursday. If you're interested, Paramount Plus produces a Halo After the Show segment called Halo the Series Declassified, and it releases with each TV episode. So for episode 2, Sydney Goodman, she interviews Joseph Morgan, who plays Ackerson, and the showrunner, and I'm blanking on his name.
His last name is Wiener. I forget his first name.
Wiener or Weiner? Daniel?
Wiener.
Daniel, maybe? So she interviews the two of them, also talks about the makeup, the prosthetics and special effects makeup that goes into doing Riz's arm, which is really interesting. So I recommend people checking that out if they haven't. Like I mentioned, go ahead.
I was just going to say they're worth it to
check
out.
They're pretty good. They're short too. They're like 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
You could do it during a lunch break. It's pretty great. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find every episode to all of our shows that Evolved produces on our website, evolvedhalo.com. Also, don't forget to check out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. Once again, another special shout out to all of our patrons over at our Patreon. You can head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved to learn more. If you liked our show, rate us, leave us a review. We greatly appreciate all the feedback we receive from our listeners to improve the quality of our show. And you can also leave us an email at podcastevolved@gmail.com or a voicemail on our Google phone number, which is 205-EVOLVED. That's 205-386-5833. And with that, I've been your host, Oran, and until next time, Evolved.